He was power, Vlad they called him. A name that echoed through the annals of history, whispered in hushed tones, and feared by all who heard it. His presence was a shadow that loomed over the land, a dark force that none dared to challenge. A whisper of his name sent shivers down spines. Peasants bolted their doors, their hearts pounding with dread. They knew that to speak his name was to invite his wrath, a wrath that was swift and merciless. Lords trembled in their castles, their opulent halls offering no protection from his reach. He was the night, the terror in the dark, a phantom that moved with silent precision. His reputation was a weapon, as sharp and deadly as any blade. His was a world of whispers and shadows, where fear was his constant companion. The foggy alleyways and misty streets were his domain, a labyrinth where he was the master. Every corner, every shadow held his presence, an omnipresent force that watched and waited. And he, the ultimate predator, his senses were razor-sharp, honed by years of survival and conquest. His eyes, intense and focused, could pierce the darkest night. His ears, attuned to the faintest sound, could detect the slightest movement. He could hear a heartbeat from across a crowded room, smell fear like a tang in the air. The scent of terror was his guide, leading him to his prey with unerring accuracy. In the cacophony of the city, he was a silent hunter, always aware, always alert. No secret stayed hidden. No lie went undetected. His ability to uncover the truth was unparalleled, a skill that made him both feared and respected. In the dimly lit rooms where secrets were whispered, he was the unseen listener, the shadow that knew all. He was judge, jury, and executioner. His judgments were final, his punishments severe. He was Vlad the Impaler, a name that would be etched in history as a symbol of fear and power. His reign was a shadow that cast darkness over the land, a reign that would be remembered for generations. Now, the world was a symphony of noise he couldn't decipher, a cacophony of light that blinded him. Towers of steel and glass pierced the sky, monuments to a future he didn't understand. Everywhere, the cold, unblinking eyes of cameras watched. They saw everything, recorded everything, except him. He was a ghost in this new world, a creature of darkness in a world obsessed with light. He moved through the crowds like a phantom, unseen, unnoticed, a king without a kingdom. He was adrift in a sea of faces, each one a stranger. Their thoughts and emotions were a jumbled mess, their lives meaningless and fleeting. He longed for the simplicity of his former existence, the clarity of fear, the intoxicating scent of power. Here he was nothing, a shadow in the night. He was surrounded by billions, yet utterly alone. Then, he saw her. It was as if time itself had paused, holding its breath in anticipation. His eyes locked onto her figure, and the world around him seemed to blur into insignificance. In a crowded café, amidst the aroma of coffee and chatter, she appeared. The clinking of cups and the hum of conversation faded into the background as his focus narrowed to just her. Her name was not Elana, but the resemblance was uncanny. Same fiery hair, cascading down her back like a waterfall of flames. It was as if the universe had played a cruel trick, bringing back a ghost from his past. Same emerald eyes that held a universe within. Those eyes, so vibrant and full of life, mirrored the ones he had lost so long ago. They seemed to pierce through the veil of time, connecting the past and the present in a single, heart-wrenching moment. The same flicker of spirit that had drawn him to his beloved centuries ago. His dead heart ached. Memories flooded back, unbidden and relentless, each one a dagger to his soul. He hadn't allowed himself to remember Elana in centuries. The pain of her loss had been too great, a wound that never truly healed. He had buried those memories deep, hoping they would never resurface. The pain was too raw, the loss too profound. But seeing this woman, this living echo of his past, it was as if the universe had conspired to remind him of what he had lost. His heart, long thought dead, began to stir with emotions he had long forgotten. This echo of his past ripped open old wounds. He felt a mix of sorrow and longing, a desperate need to reach out and touch the past, to hold on to the memory of Elana, but he knew, deep down, that this woman was not her. She was a reminder, a painful echo of a love that had transcended time itself. A heart unchanged. He watched her, a silent observer in the tapestry of her life. She was a photographer, her eyes capturing the beauty of the world through the lens of her camera. He saw the world anew through her eyes, the vibrant colors, the fleeting moments of joy and sorrow. He felt a flicker of something unfamiliar, hope, longing. He pushed the emotions down, burying them deep. He was a creature of darkness. He had no right to such light. The weight of ages. Centuries weighed heavily upon him. He carried the burden of his past like a physical weight, the memory of every life he'd taken, every soul he'd condemned to eternal darkness. He had been a monster, he had reveled in it. Now, he was filled with regret, but there was no absolution for a creature like him. A world of strangers. He was a relic of a forgotten time, a predator in a world that had moved on. The modern world was a mystery to him, its customs and technologies beyond his grasp. He was a stranger in his own existence. He watched the humans around him, their lives intertwined in a complex web of relationships and obligations. They loved, they lost, they aged, and they died. All the things he could never do. Hunger. The thirst was a constant torment, a gnawing hunger that never truly abated. He could smell their blood, their life force pulsing beneath their skin. The primal urge to feed, to take, was always there. But he couldn't. Not anymore. This world was not his hunting ground. These people were not his prey. He was a monster on a leash, his instincts shackled by his own iron will. A glimmer of light, a shadow of doubt. He found himself drawn to her light, to the warmth of her spirit. He wanted to know her, to understand this world that had created her. He wanted to feel something other than the endless, icy grip of his solitude. But what could he offer her? A creature of darkness, forever frozen in time. He was a monster, a predator, and she, a fragile, beautiful creature of light. Trapped in amber. He was trapped, frozen in time, a solitary figure in an ever-changing world. He was a ghost condemned to walk the earth, a silent observer to a life he could never truly be a part of. His existence was an echo of what it once was. He was a prisoner of his own making. His immortality, once a gift, now felt like a curse. The immortal's burden, a weight that time cannot lift, a shadow that eternity cannot dispel. He was Vlad the Impaler, a creature of darkness, a monster, once a feared ruler, now a relic of a bygone era. His name whispered in fear, his deeds etched in blood. But as he looked at the woman who reminded him so much of his lost love, he felt a flicker of something else. Hope? Regret? He didn't know. Her presence stirred memories long buried, emotions he thought he had forgotten. Could it be that even a heart as cold as his could still feel? He was a creature of contradictions, forever caught between the shadows of his past and the impossible brightness of the future. The world had changed around him, yet he remained the same, an eternal observer, never truly a part of the world he inhabited. He was an immortal, forever burdened with the weight of his past. The faces of those he had wronged haunted him, their voices a constant reminder of his sins. Each drop of rain felt like a tear shed for a life he could never reclaim. He was Vlad, and he was alone. Alone in a world that had moved on, a relic of a time that no longer existed. His immortality was not a gift, but a curse. A never-ending journey through a world that had forgotten him, a life without end, without purpose. And so, he wandered the night, a silent witness to the passage of time, forever burdened by the weight of his own existence.